أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر حي على الصلاة لا إله إلا الله.
Ladies and gentlemen, so after this delicious dinner, I would like to invite Dr. Taner Özal to the podium to talk us about Martı. So, Dr. Özal, please.
Dear guests, welcome today, especially after suffering 2 thunderstorms during rush hour. 2 rush hours in one day with thunderstorms. I heard stories from our police forces that they had a very, very busy day today. But we thank them for helping all of us. So I would like to keep it short because most of us have been quite tired, exhausted today due to unusual circumstances. So I will briefly talk about what we do here and what is Martı. Our organization, it started 7 years ago in Baltimore, and now we have 3 offices in Baltimore, here, and another one in Hagerstown. We have around 500 members, and we are trying to serve a Turkish community in Maryland of 5,000 people. So we are dedicated to address the social and cultural needs of Turkish American people living in Maryland, as well as promoting intercultural dialogue and friendship in our communities. Martı has been serving local community by organizing a variety of activities, including field trips, picnics, banquets, luncheons, social gatherings, art and crafts exhibitions, language and tutoring classes. So I will quickly summarize, or actually highlight a couple of them here before boring all of you. So we have our trademarks. We have a weekend school here for our children mostly. And we want to let our kids to know about our culture and our language so that they grow up to be healthy individuals who are in peace with both their ethnic backgrounds and the community, the culture that they are living in Maryland here. We also try to help new immigrants coming into Maryland from both Turkey and Turkish countries. And we help them to adapt themselves to the communities in here as quickly as possible. We also offer Turkish art classes at the weekends for the local people in Maryland. So we are trying to show a glimpse of our rich cultural background with these classes and have them learn about more about culture. And occasionally, at the end of these art classes, we are trying to exhibit certain things that they do, arts and crafts. And during Ramadan, in here, every day, we organize Iftar dinners for our community and for the local people living in Maryland. And we are gathering everyone in both religious days, cultural days. So we are basically serving our community with that. And whether it is Ramadan or not, we organize public outreach dinners like today at least once a week in our offices. And we think of these events as venues designed to cultivate friendship, celebrate diversity, strengthen civic dialogue and society, and deepen intercultural awareness and understanding among the many diverse ethnic and civil communities in our local community, mostly in an informal and friendly setting. We occasionally invite influential Marylanders to these dinners and to our luncheons for exchange of ideas, perspectives, experience, and even to boost our enthusiasm to contribute more to the society in here. And my favorite one, Turkey has many touristic and historic places, so it's a great attraction for many international tourists. And we set up trips to Turkey for not only visiting those historical and touristy places, but also for providing a real-life experience and feeling of Turkish people and culture. In our trips, our guests visit Turkish families. They get to know Turkish journalists, activists, and community leaders. And these trips are sponsored by a group of Turkish businessmen who are eager to introduce both Turkish and American people to one another in order to form cultural bridges between two great cultures. We engage in many other cultural and intercultural activities, and if you visit our webpage, you can see photos from them or just summaries of these activities. But I would like to end my talk in here. And thanks again for joining us tonight, and I hope to see you again and very soon here in our cultural center. Thank you.
Okay, so now we move on to the remarks for this dinner. First, I would like to give a brief info for our first speaker, Jane Gaffney. She was actually born in Norfolk, Virginia. She has a BA from American University in International Relations, and she has an MA of Applied Linguistics from the American University in Cairo, Egypt. She did her graduate level studies in social anthropology at the American University in Beirut, and she taught in Beirut and then Kuwait. She joined the Foreign Service in 1987 and served overseas in various countries like Morocco, Egypt, Sudan, Kenya, and Jerusalem. In Washington, she did service in various capacities related to public diplomacy, strategic communications, political work on East and Central Africa. And currently, she's working in intelligence and research focusing on radicalization and terrorist organizations. And among her interests as an anthropologist includes the tribal issues, the Egyptian cinema, and mass-mediated popular culture, in particular the television drama and how it reflects and influences political and social perspectives in Arab world. And I actually heard that she was watching also the Turkish soap operas that were being shown in Syria and Lebanon. I think it was quite popular because I know a friend who was visiting some of the websites, and I was seeing some like the sort of commercials for the Turkish popular series, and I'm like, those look like Turkish people, and she's like, yeah, I guess. And then you see the title, the names, and they're all Turkish, which was really interesting. So please.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to give some very, very short remarks. And for my friends from the Rumi Foundation who know me, I promise I will say nothing more about soap operas tonight. I'm driving them crazy about soap operas from Turkey. Anyway, First of all, again, thank you for this opportunity, for this wonderful gathering. Also, I want to thank everyone again for the wonderful trip to Turkey that I had the opportunity to take. And I have to say that, you know, I had been to Turkey many times. I'd lived in other parts of the Muslim world. And as we were concluding our trip, we were asked to talk about what were the things that were the most important for us that we got out of that trip. And I thought that that those comments might be the most relevant for this gathering. Ramadan, I know well from other contexts, and I know it's a time when people stop and get out of the business of their ordinary days and to think about themselves, their internal, their spiritual lives, to regroup with their families, something that people don't always do in their very busy lives, and also to gather with extended family and relatives and friends. Again, a chance to get back to what's important, the sort of things that we just saw in this very brief film. The two issues that I remarked on when I ended my trip there were first and foremost because for me the most important thing we did was to meet with people and see families and see ordinary people who were, as many would say, are living their faith. They're not making big pronouncements about religion or anything, but they're practicing their values in their everyday lives. And particularly the people who were attached with to the Gulen movement, the kinds of work they're doing in the field of education, in terms of different kinds of charitable things, and also attempts to bring peace in areas, very difficult areas like southeastern Turkey. We talk a lot in the United States about issues of social justice, and I think what impressed me the most there was the efforts of people to do this and do it quietly. No big banners, no big noises about it, but simply people leading their daily lives in this manner. And to give you a very simple example, was a family that we talked to in Konya. Among the things that they were doing, just as a small family, was they had 2 or 3 students, foreign students from Central Asia who were studying in the university there, who were graduates of a Turkish school in that country. And they acted as sort of surrogate parents for them and made sure that they included them in their holidays, saw if they had any problems with their dormitories, etc. Made sure they were eating properly like good parents do. And those students, in exchange, were tutoring children in less fortunate areas of the city. And all of them were doing these things because it was the right thing to do. And that notion of doing it yourself and not waiting for government or anybody else to step in is really a model I think we can all learn from and capitalize on. The second issue that really struck me when I was there was the incredible changes taking place in Turkey in just the last few years. And with the opening of democracy there, the very courageous people in the NGO community and in the press trying to solve long-standing problems, especially the Kurdish issue, but working with it on the social level with NGOs and trying to bring people together, and also to use their freedom of speech to talk about things, again, very courageously, that they weren't able to do in the past. All of these, I think, are things that we, as Americans, can learn a great deal about. I personally feel that right now we are going through a particularly difficult time here in the United States with an economic downturn, some very unpleasant attitudes have come up in our country that I think a lot of us thought we were on the way to mending, have come back. And this is in terms of intolerance of a variety of types. And I'm sure everyone in this room is very sensitive to that and has, in his or her own capacity, had to deal with it or is working against it. And I just want to commend these organizations here for doing exactly the kind of thing that is necessary for people to bridge the gaps of misunderstanding where the issue is misunderstanding, and hopefully carry through with other people to make the kinds of intolerance and prejudice that we are seeing in some other people simply not accepted among ordinary citizens here. And the work you're doing in the state of Maryland is absolutely extraordinary. So with that, I'll say, since I can't pronounce it in Turkish, Ramadan Kerim.
Next, we will have Mr. Lebodar, who's been born in Central African Republic, and he worked at different positions in Central African Republic as the head of the planning unit of Minister of Agriculture, Director of General of National Cotton Company, different cabinet positions including Minister of Agriculture and Minister of Planning and International, as well as being a Prime Minister. From 81 to 94, he was at the World Bank in DC as a program officer and executive director. From 95 to 2003, he was a senior representative of the IMF in Congo, Guinea, and Togo. And from 2003 to 2004, he was a senior minister in charge of economy, finance, budget, planning, and international cooperation at the government of the Central African Republic. And at the present time, he's a consultant and member of the panel of experts in public finance of the Fiscal Affairs Department of the IMF. So I don't know how he introduces himself, but this is so please welcome.
Thank you very much. Please accept my accent, and I hope you'll understand my English. When Seda contacted me for the remarks tonight, I was first enthusiastic. Then I told myself, this is a big challenge. And finally, I am Catholic. And looking to my own faith, I discovered that, first of all three Abrahamic religions have their roots in the current Turkey. And they share many values and many prophets. We have Jesus, I believe it is Isa. And in the desert, those who are Catholic know that Jesus fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. And you have Ramadan for 40 nights and 40 days. And from what I had friends in high school who were Muslims, and I believe Ramadan is a time for almsgiving, sharing with the difference. And I want to thank Rumi Forum for giving the opportunity to have people of various religions, various training in the same room. I think this is if I use the public finance gobbledygook, the largest deficit in our world is the lack of understanding, is the lack of tolerance. We don't do enough. And I believe that Ramadan, as Carême for the Christians, is a time to regroup on oneself and give preeminence to mind over matter, and to look also at the fate of the less privileged. Because in the current life we can pass by, we are so busy watching TV, doing other things, we don't think of the fate of others. This is even more true for Africans. We have big differences between those who have and those who don't have. And we have so many conflicts because of intolerance. Because we don't cultivate the virtue of listening to others, to trying to understand their own opinion, to try to find what we have in common, to aim in the same direction for the progress of all. So it is not so surprising that Ramadan and Carême for Catholics, it is the same thing. If we are being created as the image of God, what do we do to imitate, to emulate the message of Jesus or the prophets, to bring everybody under the same tent, under the same house, and make sure that progress is something shared by all of us. I think that my wife, Marie Francoise, and myself, we had the privilege of visiting Turkey, and we were the hospitality of the Turkish people, not of the institutions, farmers, people we visited, is just exceptional. One of the things that were the most surprising, the husband of Madame Omar had a friend, a Kurdish friend, who has a restaurant in Istanbul. He closed the restaurant to receive the party where we were together. He closed the restaurant just to receive us for free. The restaurant owner is Kurdish. Omar is not Kurdish. What a symbol. Two friends, one who will close, forgive revenues to receive the friends of a friend. Of course, as a Christian, I discovered also that while the Romans and the Greek were busy persecuting Christians, they found asylum in the current Turkey, and we visited the first churches, troglodyte churches. I don't know if you said troglodyte in the rocks. This is where they found refuge. And when today, having been educated in France, I hear Europeans say that Turkey does not deserve to be European because they are Muslim. But I will not speak about that. I think the Prime Minister of United Kingdom spoke very eloquently recently, and I completely share what he said. So I will stop there. Thank you again. And this spirit of sharing with the difference, it is not only sharing with the poor, it is sharing with people of other creeds. This, I am sure, is essential to advancing peace and understanding in the world. Thank you. Oh, and sorry, I am not a politician, even though I have been minister several times. I wanted to say with my unforgettable accent, hayırlı Ramazanlar.
Now I would like to invite Chief Thomas Manger. Chief Thomas Manger has been the chief of the Montgomery County since 2004. He is actually a UMD alumnus, so go UMD. Is it College Park or Baltimore? College Park. Yes, that's nice. So he has received numerous awards, including the Silver Medal of Valor. He is a graduate of FBI National Academy, the National Executive Institute, the Police Executive Leadership School at the University of Richmond, and the Senior Executive Institute at the University of Virginia. And he serves on various boards and community organizations. It was a big list, so I didn't bother to try, but they might maybe tell us.
The introduction, you know when the introduction takes longer than someone's remarks, there's something is wrong. First of all, I want to thank Marty for the invitation. Thank you so much. This is always a wonderful event, and I'm always happy to attend. I'm here with two of my colleagues that I'd like to introduce. Captain James Fenner, who is the commander of our 1st District. Captain Fenner, that's our Rockville district, and so if you live in Rockville, if you work in Rockville, if you are in Rockville, this is the man that can help you if you need any police service. I would also like to introduce Officer Sharif Hidayat. Officer Hidayat works out of our 4th District in Wheaton, is the community service officer there, and is also one of our Muslim officers. He does a wonderful job for the police department and has done so for many years. And so I'm very pleased that my colleagues could join us. I admire so much what your organization does. I think the video that we saw really just spelled it out very eloquently. Peace, tolerance, and dialogue. I think that really, if we talk about community policing, I mean this is exactly what we're trying to accomplish when we bring our service and hopefully enhance safety in our community. And I just want to make sure that everyone here knows that the Montgomery County Police Department feels very strongly about encouraging or eliminating hate from our community, and that's a challenge. And Jane, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, unfortunately, I think we have seen an uptick in those kinds of incidents, and I will tell you that we will continue to do everything we can to ensure that everyone can live in this community free from harassment, free from being the victim of a crime. And no matter what you look like, how you dress, what your religion, your ethnicity, your race, we are here to serve everybody and protect everyone. And we will do everything we can. And we just need to make sure that you all know that the police department is here for you. If you have any issues at all, do not hesitate. You know how to get in touch with me. You've now met Commander Fenner and Officer Hidayat, and there's about 1,000 other folks that wear this uniform that are here to do everything we can to help keep you safe. We're happy to be here. Thank you for everything you do.
Now I'd like to invite Mr. Emre Çelik. Mr. Emre Çelik, he was born in Izmir, Turkey, but he moved to Sydney when he was at age 1, and he has a degree in computer engineering and a master's in teaching. He's been involved in many educational and interfaith projects in Sydney, Brisbane, and Melbourne. He has been on the executive committee of the first Turkish private college established in Australia. He has also served as the secretary of one of Australia's largest mosques. He was involved in the establishment of the 2 different education centers in Melbourne and Sydney, and also was their founding principal. During his stay in Melbourne within Australian Intercultural Society, he was involved in different projects, and he has moved to a new position as being the director of the Rumi Forum in August 2009. And he has a keen interest in intercultural and interfaith dialogue and its importance in the community, and he hopes to complete his doctorate in this area. And I think so it's been a year since he made the comment that he was going to change the way we talked, but I don't see that happening, and I don't see that he's losing his accent. He's still got the Australian accent. So both sides are struggling, so we'll see who's gonna win.
Not too sure if I should make a comment after that introduction. Of course, it's very difficult after 3 speakers. We have the Chief from Police, a former Prime Minister, and former member of the State Department. So I'm not too sure how I will follow that. And like one of the former speakers as well, you will have to put up with my accent. I will say a few words, and a lot of nice things and appropriate things have been said. Ramadan, of course, is a very important month in the Muslim calendar, if not the most important month. It is a blessed month. It comes with it many blessings. A lot of people refer to Ramadan like a very special guest. It comes, it visits us for a month, it brings with it blessings, and then it leaves, and we look forward to its next arrival. So for that reason, like any special guest, Ramadan is very special for the Muslim individual, the family, and in particular, very particular, the community. Amongst the many religious and spiritual aspects to what Ramadan is, of course, the social aspect is crucial. It is a means for people coming together in what is usually known in the wider American community as a Judeo-Christian tradition of breaking bread. But may I add to that and call it a Judeo-Christian Islamo tradition of sitting down and sharing a meal. The sharing of a meal within the Islamic concept is in itself a blessing, whether it be with those that are family or friends or strangers or neighbors. To be able to sit down with somebody and sharing a meal is considered a great blessing. It is said in a prophetic tradition, in the hadith, these are sayings of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that the guest brings with them 10 blessings, and upon their departure the guest leaves with only 1. 9 of those blessings have remained from the family that has hosted that guest. So I want to thank Marty for playing a very important role in hosting each and every one of us. The blessings will rain upon them as a result of hosting their friends, their families, their neighbors, and their very close friends, each and every one of you. But within that concept of blessing, of course, Ramadan in itself is a blessing, but I believe this particular county and the various counties around us today have also been blessed with something else that is considered a very fine blessing, and that is the blessing of rain. So we've been triply blessed through the month of Ramadan through the hosting of family and friends, and again, the rain. So thank you very much. I wish everyone a blessed Ramadan. May it be a means of happiness within ourselves, our families, within our communities, and of course, the wider American society. Thank you and good evening to you all.
So as the last part of our program, we will have our highly acclaimed Mr. Furkan Ünal, who's gonna, I don't know how to say it nicely, give us a piano recital of some Turkish music. I'm not just gonna say he's gonna play the piano. It doesn't sound very nice.